UFC 311 is coming up in a few days, and it's headlined by Arman Tsarukyan and Islam Makhachev in the much-anticipated rematch. And right now, Islam, I believe, is a 4-1 favorite or a 3-1 favorite, which I think is ridiculous. I think that this is a 50-50 fight. I do recognize that Islam should be the favorite. He's fought better levels of competition, and he's done better against those guys. Compared to Arman Tsarukyan, he did much better against Charles Oliveira than Arman Tsarukyan did. But regardless, I still think that this is a very 50-50 fight, maybe 55-45, and Arman does have a legit shot at winning this fight. And today I'm going to be breaking down this fight, their previous fights, the Dustin Poirier fight, the first fight that these guys had against each other years ago, the game plans for each of these guys, and my early prediction. Everything should be in the description, so if you want to see something, the timestamps should be there. But getting straight into it, the first fight that I will be breaking down is the first fight that these guys had against each other. I believe it was about 5, 6, 7 years ago, something along those lines. A very close fight. And Arman Tsarukyan did take the fight on short notice. I believe he took it on 2 weeks' notice, maybe a week's notice. And you could tell in the third round, but regardless, how did the fight go? So it was a very close fight. Islam, I do believe, won. But starting off in round one, both guys ended up slipping very early on, which was kind of weird. Islam slipped and then Arman slipped, but when Arman slipped, it was much more devastating because he slipped kind of by the cage where Islam was able to capitalize and shoot a takedown on him. But Arman was able to stuff the takedown, and I believe both of these guys, their takedown defense is absolutely insane. Their scrambles are absolutely insane. And there was a good knee in the clinch for Arman Tsarukyan as well, which is promising because Islam is very good in the clinch. He's very strong in the clinch. He loves to throw knees to the body in the clinch, especially when someone kind of overextends. And if he doesn't counter them and capitalize that way, he'll kind of grab onto you, clinch, and then throw knees to the body. And the reason you don't want to throw knees back is because of what happened in this fight as well as the Charles Oliveira fight, where in MMA, when you throw a strike, let's say you throw a leg kick, you want to get it back, and you end up throwing a leg kick to return so that you're about even. What Islam does is he throws a knee to the body, and a lot of times you end up throwing a knee to try to get back at him, and as soon as you do that, as soon as you're off balance, he throws you, he trips you, and you're on your back. He did it against Charles Oliveira, who's also very good in the clinch, and he did it to Arman in the first round in this fight. Now, Arman was able to get up somewhat easily. He was controlled for a little bit. I believe Islam went for a submission, which allowed Arman to get up, and I believe he tried his own guillotine, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe Islam kind of made the same mistake where he threw a knee up top, and Arman was able to time it, kind of throw him down, almost get him on the ground. And that's kind of how the round ended. I thought Arman actually won the round because of the guillotine. It was a very close round, 50-50. And then round two was kind of the same story, where Arman, both the guys were just exchanging kicks. In my opinion, Arman has some of the fastest kicks in the division. He's probably the most flexible guy, maybe in the UFC. I think Islam may have the second best kicks in the division. I mean, it's close. The problem is Arman, his kicks are crazy, but they're not super effective because he only goes high a lot of times, except for in the Gamrot fight, which we'll talk about. And Islam kind of just focuses on body kicks and just head kicks, very normal, but they're very, very effective against his opponents. Sometimes, such as like the Poirier fight, he wasn't really kicking a ton, to be honest. He kind of was just boxing with him against Poirier, which is really impressive. I know he had staph infection, so maybe he didn't want to gas out by throwing too many kicks. That could be a part of it. He may have staph infection in this fight. Again, it's not in Abu Dhabi, and that's usually where Makhachev performs best, in Abu Dhabi. He still wins, obviously, everywhere else, but usually not. It's not as clean of a victory when he's not fighting in Abu Dhabi. But again, the second round, it was a very similar round. A lot more kicks and a lot more stand-up in this round. Arman, I believe, threw a spinning back kick, which is kind of risky to do against a guy like Islam Makhachev. I don't think Islam has the same ability like a Charles Oliveira to just latch up a submission, just get your back very quickly. And I know Islam submitted Charles Oliveira. I still think Oliveira is the better submission artist. Islam is more of a, I guess, ground and pound. I mean, not really, not compared to Khabib, but he's more of a control guy. compared to like a Charles Oliveira who's just going for the submission, but it's still very dangerous. Islam still has insane submissions, and it was a very close round. You could give this round to either guy, in my opinion. Round 3, this is the round where you could tell that Arman took the fight on short notice. Both guys started off super aggressive. I'm going to be honest, at the beginning of the round, Arman's gas tank, it looked amazing. He looked completely fresh, but then he was throwing so much volume, and then he decides to shoot a takedown, and then he got it stuffed. And then Islam, I believe, was able to reverse position, take down Arman. Arman had great takedown defense. He was getting up consistently, but Islam clearly won this round. This was the most dominant round, even though it still was somewhat competitive. But Arman made the mistake. He didn't show great fight IQ. He should have kept it on the feet. Instead, he does not get the takedown, and he gasses himself out. Now, they weren't going to give him the fight anyway. I believe 2 judges had it 30-27, which is, I mean, it's possible, I guess, but it's just, I feel like the judges were kind of favoring Islam in this fight. I don't know who they're going to favor this upcoming week. I mean, it's going to be in Los Angeles, I believe, so who knows. But regardless, it was a very close matchup. The next fight I'll be breaking down is Islam Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier, the most recent fight that either of these guys have had, and I believe it was, 7 months ago? It was a long time, 7-8 months ago. And round 1, very simple. Islam on the front foot, pressures early. He blitzes in with a nice combination, gets the easy takedown. I believe he also tried for Kimura. He was close, but he didn't get it. Then he got the body triangle for the rest of the round, if I'm not mistaken. And easy round 1, dominant. Round 2, though, this was much closer. Islam, he shot a lot of times in the center, and he just wasn't able to take down Poirier in almost any of the attempts. Both guys actually had success in the clinch. Makhachev obviously with the knees, and Poirier made a very good adjustment where he was throwing actual body punches in the clinch, so he wasn't risking throwing knees. Now, Poirier, he doesn't really throw knees or kicks at all because of his hips. I believe he had hip surgery years ago, and for that reason, he mainly just boxes. So it makes a lot of sense compared to a guy like Charles Oliveira, who's going to be throwing knees, elbows. That's kind of his game. Arman Tsarukyan, though, he could throw knees. He could throw kicks. That's more of his game. I'd like to see him also throw body punches, though. Again, it kind of eliminates the risk of getting tripped or thrown down after throwing a knee, even though I don't think it's going to be super easy for Islam Makhachev to do that against a guy like Arman Tsarukyan, who's just now entering his prime. And yeah, round 2, at the very end, the coach, I believe it was Dustin Poirier's coach, was saying that he wanted more volume, and Poirier was saying, you know, I agree, but I can't do it because I can't stand in front of this guy or else he's going to take me down. And that is a big part of Islam's previous fights. There is a takedown threat. I get there wasn't that big of a takedown threat against a guy like Charles Oliveira, but it was there. It wasn't as bad as, you know, Arman Tsarukyan or whatever. Arman, I don't think that there's really going to be any takedown threat in this fight. I think Arman should be the one shooting. And you could argue Arman is the better wrestler of the two, in my opinion. I mean, the way he was taking down Oliveira. If you compare Islam and Oliveira, that fight versus the Arman fight, yes, Islam looked better on the feet slightly just because he got the knockdown. It was still very close. And Islam Makhachev struggled to take down Oliveira. Now, I know you'll see the fight. You see Oliveira on his back, but Oliveira was being an idiot. He was throwing himself on bottom. He welcomed it. However, in the second round, Arman versus Oliveira wasn't really throwing himself down. He was trying to stuff the takedowns. Arman was just out wrestling him and dominating him in the wrestling. And I feel like in this fight, I don't think he's going to I don't think either guy is going to dominate on the ground. But still, it's something to note. There's not going to be a takedown threat like there was against a Dustin Poirier. Moving on to round 3, Dustin Poirier, he kind of overextended, and Islam was able to counter with a knee. That kind of scares me because Arman is about the same height as a Volkanovski, who's very short. The knees up the middle in that fight were very effective. And again, that kind of scares me. Arman is the much shorter guy. He's shorter by about 3-4 inches. And those knees are always going to be there. The head kicks are going to be there. I believe there also was a clash of heads, which kind of messed up Dustin Poirier's nose. That was a big part. Islam, he landed some good shots. He landed an uppercut. Islam got the takedown. I think Islam also, he got in full mount, I believe, and Dustin Poirier was able to escape, because when you get into full mount, it's very risky because it's much easier to escape that way. Dustin Poirier, he was able to walk on the fence, get up, end the round. It was a very, very close round. Round 4, this was Dustin Poirier's round. They both were going jab for jab in this, tit for tat. Both were doing amazing on the feet, combo for combo in the pocket. Islam, he was briefly able to control Dustin Poirier, but Poirier, he was able to get away. I think he may have also injured his leg, if I'm not mistaken. Poirier ends the round, good body shots, some of the best shots in the fight, cuts Islam Makhachev open with an elbow. I think probably the best strike in the fight. Dustin Poirier wins the round. Round 5, Poirier opens up, good leg kick. Dustin Poirier, I believe he was able to stuff a takedown in the center. I would have liked for Islam, I believe when he got his shot stuffed, Poirier was much closer to the fence after the fact. I know it's tough for a 5-round fight to ask the guy with staph infection to shoot a takedown immediately after, Merab style, but I believe he would have gotten it. I mean, Poirier was right by the fence. It would have been much easier than out in the open. Maybe what he could have done is shoot initially in the center and don't fully commit, but just use enough energy to kind of push Poirier back up against the fence and then shoot, use all your energy. I could see that, but also it's 5 rounds. He's so tired. He's doing well on the feet. But regardless, Islam, he did get caught with a nice, I believe it was a left hand, if I'm not mistaken. Poirier landed it clean, and Islam just ate it. And I think that, probably hurt Poirier's confidence. You finally land the shot you've been looking for, and it does absolutely nothing. And then Islam, one of the best submissions of the year, one of the highest level grappling exchanges of the year. Absolutely insane clutch submission. The first fight, Islam versus Volkanovski, won, much more competitive. Islam in Australia, the worst version we've seen of him, and he still was amazing. Volk had crazy good movement, good kicks by Islam in the first round. Volk was able to wobble him early with the left hand. Islam was able to drop him, landing kind of with his forearm on the ear, drop him to one knee. The head kick kind of landed, and then Islam is able to get the takedown after Volkanovski was fighting the hands. The neck crank wasn't really that close, but still a clear win for Makhachev in the first round. Round 2, kind of a pick'em round. A coin flip round. Volk is super fast when he blitzes in. Kind of reminds me of a Robert Whittaker. Islam Makhachev landed a body kick. Islam, I believe he fell down, but I don't think it was because of the Volkanovski shots. I don't think it was a knockdown at all. Islam was on the single leg. Volk, I think, was able to get to his feet and partially land a knee off the break, if I'm not mistaken. Islam was also able to land a knee to the body. He'll probably be landing those a bunch against a guy like Arman Tsarukyan. Islam was able to kind of wobble Volk with the left hand after Volk went to the body, and that's a big thing that I kind of see. Makhachev, he has great defense, even though he is open to the body. But what happens is a lot of guys, they land good jabs, good straight shots to the body against Makhachev, and they land it several times until eventually he gets your timing and he sends a counter, and he's super fast, Islam Makhachev. All of the Dagestanis are abnormally fast, especially for wrestlers, abnormally fast on the feet. And he kind of wobbled Volk. Volk was able to stay on his feet. I believe also Islam struggled to take down Volkanovski in this round, and Volk was able to land a few shots against the fence. By the way, Ilia Topuria would KO that version of Islam Makhachev if that happened. Islam stumbles, Volk lands a knee. Very close round, in my opinion. Volkanovski, his shot kind of grazed, and then Islam Makhachev landed a left hand. I think he also landed a right hand. Great entry by Islam, takes him down for the rest of the round. Easy Islam round. I know a lot of people at this time were saying, oh, well, Volkanovski, Islam was just controlling, and Volkanovski was the one landing the punches, but Islam was clearly up in the stand-up before he got the body triangle. Round 5, again, another close round. Islam landed a nice left hand. Volk lands a leg kick and a body shot. Islam, he lands a knee and then some follow-up shots. Again, he lands a knee that cuts Volkanovski, which is big for scoring. Good entries by Islam, but he just can't control him. Volkanovski is able to sit him down and land good ground and pound. Close round, closer than people make it out to be, but I'd have to give it to Islam Makhachev. Overall, I think he won the fight. And then Arman Tsarukyan versus Charles Oliveira. This was another super close fight, in my opinion. I already did a full breakdown on this fight in a previous video. But essentially what I got from this fight, Arman, he threw a lot in twos, and then Oliveira would wait. And then after Arman lands 2-3 punches, Arman likes to really double up on the jab. He does that a lot. Then Oliveira would land, but he just was getting outpointed, outvolumed. Oliveira really did not fight a good fight. I think that was the worst version I've seen of Oliveira. I'm not going to lie, in years. I thought he looked better against Islam than he did against Arman, to be completely honest. He was just a punching bag. He was not throwing shots. He wasn't answering back. And the submission attempts, again, for Oliveira, they weren't off of his back. It was Arman kind of rushing things, which he sometimes does, because Arman likes to try to finish the fight. That kind of hurt Arman in the third round, which almost gave it to Charles Oliveira. And then Arman versus Dariush, Beneil, he has some good kicks in the beginning, but he's just so slow. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw Islam use the same body kick a lot. Arman, he also backs away when he's pressured and he has his chin up in the air. I don't think that's going to affect him against a guy like Islam Makhachev, but if he was fighting Topuria, he makes the same mistakes as a Volkanovski, in my opinion. And yeah, he misses the knee, but he lands the right hand, puts him out cold. That's some of the Islam Makhachev fights I noticed, some things I noticed in their fights. Arman Tsarukyan versus Mateusz Gamrot, I thought that this was a massive robbery. In round one, Arman's flexibility and balance is on full display. He has insane body kicks that he decided to only throw during this fight. And I just want to say for this fight, one, it was an obvious robbery. I think you could score it 50-45 for Arman. I know that's a really hot take. Also, Gamrot was on EPO for this fight. I'm 100% certain, because this was a crazy pace. Gamrot was pushing the pace in the fifth round. He wasn't gassed at all. He was taking insane body kicks, which really gasses you out. And then Dan Hooker, you're gassed after one round. Absolutely unbelievable. Gamrot, he's a fraud. I don't care. I picked him. But regardless, he clearly lost the fight. Arman Tsarukyan, his balance is insane. His body kicks are insane. Arman was able to knock down Gamrot. The scrambles were insane. And then, again, I think Gamrot, if I'm not mistaken, was southpaw in this fight, the same stance as Islam Makhachev. So I do believe the body kicks will be there for Arman Tsarukyan in their upcoming fight. And then overall, some things to note. Arman, again, he likes to double up on his jabs, but sometimes he gets lazy, which Oliveira made him pay for. The one time Oliveira threw a shot, he actually landed it. I think it was a nice right hand, if I'm not mistaken, and he landed it clean. And Oliveira is not as fast as Makhachev, so Makhachev will probably land it earlier in the fight and gain Arman's respect early. That's my prediction. Arman, again, he throws a lot of head kicks, but not really much in front of it. I'd like to see him kind of do the same thing that Robert Whittaker does, throw a combo and then end with the high kick. And again, Arman, he needs to throw the same body kicks that he was using against Gamrot. I do believe Arman Tsarukyan should also shoot on Islam, but not as frequently in the first fight where he's going to gas himself out. Just, to get it in Islam's head that they're going to wrestle, they're going to grapple. I think Arman is good in the clinch with knees, but he's not as good as Islam. And in order to kind of even it out, I would say he needs to land big shots off of the break, which he may have done in their first fight. Arman, he also shouldn't stay in boxing range because Islam, I think he's just better in the pocket. He's a really good boxer. And Islam, he's very good at throwing the knee in the clinch. Again, I could see him taking him down that way when Arman throws a knee back. I think Islam wins in the clinch 90% of the time. Even though it will be close, he'll get the better of the exchange in the clinch 90% of the time, in my opinion. Again, Islam Makhachev, he's open to the body. I'd like to see Arman body kicks, body shots. He needs to get in and out if he throws a body shot, and he has to make sure that they don't clinch when that happens. I do believe both guys will score takedowns. I wouldn't be shocked if they decide not to grapple. And I think Islam, he needs to gain Arman's respect early with his speed and try to keep the fight standing. I'm sure he'll do well on the ground, but still, I think he's slightly better on the feet. I do think Makhachev is slightly overrated on the feet. No, Islam Makhachev is not the best striker in the lightweight division, in my opinion. I get he outstruck a bunch of guys, but the takedown threat is so big, where if it was just a stand-up fight, just a boxing match, I think Poirier beats Makhachev. Even if it's a kickboxing match, I still would pick Poirier. It would be close. Islam is one of the best strikers in the division, but regardless, Arman is still really good on the feet. Islam, he sometimes goes kick heavy, sometimes he doesn't. I think in this fight, he should kind of stick with the boxing range. I don't think he should go tit for tat with the kicks, in my opinion. And I think, again, Islam eventually needs to counter the jab with one of his wicked fast hooks, in my opinion. And then my final prediction, or early prediction, I should say, some things I think will happen. I don't think we'll see a finish. I don't think a submission is likely unless Islam is able to latch up something when Arman shoots low. That's possible. Maybe a guillotine. I think Arman is so good at defending submissions that I don't think he's going to get submitted. I don't think he's going to get knocked out either. I think a knockout is 50-50 in this fight on either side. I think it'll be a decision, in my opinion. I think maybe Islam knocks him down and then is able to jump on him. I think if there is a knockdown, it will probably be from Makhachev, but I think if it's a knockout, it will be from Arman, in my opinion. I think that this will be a razor-close fight. I think it's going to be closer than Volk and Islam won. I think that there could be a robbery. I think this will be a 48-47 decision. I am a little bit worried that Arman will get he'll be out-voluming Makhachev, but he'll get lazy and then potentially get dropped by being too comfortable. I could see that. And I think that this fight will come down to rounds 3 through 5, maybe the championship rounds. Who has the better gas tank? Who's going to push harder? And both of these guys push so hard, I have no clue. Makhachev has a little bit more experience. I think right now, I'm going to lean 48-47 Makhachev, in my opinion. My final prediction, again, this is 50-50, will come out in a few days, my full card predictions. I just wanted to do a breakdown for this fight. But yeah, let me know who you have winning this fight. That is it for me. And yeah.